Hi, this is a short review of the new Denon Home 200 speaker, which is basically the successor to the fairly well-liked Home 150 released a few years back. So what's new here, and is Denon's HEOS system finally better than Sonos, or not? First, starting off on the outside, I personally really like the Home 200, which has got a very furniture-like decorative look with fabric around the outside, a sturdy rubber bottom, and physical buttons underneath the rubber-ish material on the top. So really nice. Power adapter is, as it should be, built in, and if we take a look at the back, the speaker rocks both a USB-C for connecting a USB device for music playback, as well as a built-in, pay attention Sonos, 3.5mm aux port for connecting, for example, a vinyl player and streaming it to whatever of any connected HEOS speakers you want. Neat. The back also includes a connect button for easy setup, a Bluetooth connection button, and a switch to turn off or on the built-in microphones. A very good start if you ask me. Getting started is then super easy, and the whole process of setting everything up is done in a few minutes. Then everything is controlled through the HEOS app, where we can pair speakers, create different rooms to put them in, control playback options, and add audio sources. Here, Denon has always and still is a little bit more focused towards the local playback options compared to Sonos. There is, for example, no built-in Spotify app, but the speaker instead uses Spotify Connect to play music through the Spotify service, which in all honesty works just as fine, and pretty snappy as well. Built-in app alternatives are though available for Amazon Music, Deezer, SoundCloud, Tidal, and Qobuz. There's also support for radio via TuneIn and direct playback via Bluetooth or AirPlay. Here, the app experience is, well, better than what it was, say, about 5 years ago. However, there is still quite a few traces of the old and dated HEOS experience here. One thing, for example, is that there is no swipe back gesture, but instead you have to use the in-app buttons for those tasks. The layout is also not the most logical, and even though everything is indeed very snappy and fast, the appearance is not quite up to Sonos standard yet. And I do also say this knowing very well that Sonos completely ruined their app with the release of the Ace headphones about 2 years ago. It has gotten better since then, but in terms of actual speed, here the HEOS app runs circles around the Sonos one right now, although when it comes to the usability and the logicalness of the app, Sonos is still a tiny bit better. Alright, so sound then, well, it's good, really good even, which is, to be honest, what I would have expected, since the price here is basically double compared to what, for example, a Sonos Era 100 or the older Denon 150 goes for right now. The sound coming from the Home 200 is also a bit more raw than what you get with, for example, the Sonos Era and most of the other Sonos speakers as well, which in turn leans more towards a little bit more easy listening feel, whereas the Home 200 has more clearly separated instruments and vocal, although for the best listening experience also requiring a bit more of thoughts behind the placement of the speaker. Sure, there is built-in software adjustment for the placement, but in that aspect Sonos is a little bit easier to handle, although again the stereo experience coming from the Home 200 is indeed way better than it is, for example, from the Era 100, so a little bit give and take here. Also nice is that the volume from the Home 200 can be pushed up really far before any noticeable distortion or similar kicks in. Otherwise, the sound is indeed clear, punchy, and with a fairly deep bass, especially if you move the slider in the app a little bit up, something I personally found necessary even for the treble as well, to get that little bit of a more crispy listening experience. Smart-wise, this is not a super duper smart speaker. There's no built-in support for Google Assistant, and even though it does support Siri, it is only through the use of it as an extender, for example, for a HomePod. There is, however, built-in Alexa support, which is nice. However, here again, I would really say that the Denon HEOS app shows that it still lives a little bit in the past, where connecting your Amazon account and adding Alexa requires a lot of different logins and confirmations in an also very graphically outdated interface. However, and all in all though, and despite the quite high price tag, I really have enjoyed having the Denon Home 200 next to me over the past few weeks. And as for sound, I have very little complaints. And if you do know what you want in terms of audio sources and streaming services and want a very scalable and, in my experience, stable multi-room speaker system, the Denon Home 200 is without a doubt a very worthy candidate to start with. Alright, those are my thoughts on the Denon Home 200. Please share any of your thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching. Bye.